It was late evening when Ethan Cole returned home from his night shift. The small apartment was silent, just the way he liked it. The city outside buzzed with noise and neon lights, but here, inside his space, it was peaceful. Or at least it was supposed to be. As he unlocked the door and stepped in, something felt wrong. The lights in the kitchen were on. He was sure he had turned them off before leaving. Ethan froze for a second, his tired eyes narrowing. He lived alone. No one had a spare key. Slowly, he reached for the wrench he kept near the shoe rack, a habit from when the city wasn't so safe. He took quiet steps toward the kitchen. The air felt colder, heavier, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Then, he heard it. A sound, soft, high-pitched, and not quite human, like a mix between a whisper and a bird's song. He turned the corner, and what he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Standing in front of his refrigerator was a girl. At least she looked like a girl, small, maybe 12 or 13 years old, but her skin shimmered faintly blue under the white light. Her eyes were huge and silver, reflecting everything around her like mirrors. Her hair, if it could be called that, looked like thin glowing threads that moved slowly on their own, as if alive. She froze too, staring back at him with those wide, shining eyes. For a moment neither of them moved. Who are you? Ethan whispered, his voice low, uncertain. The girl didn't answer. She just tilted her head slightly as if trying to understand his words. Then she looked at the loaf of bread in her hand and his bread, and back at him. Her small lips trembled. Ethan lowered the wrench a little. She didn't look dangerous, more like scared. "Hey," he said gently, "I'm not gonna hurt you. Just tell me how you got in here." She blinked. Her fingers twitched. Then with a shaky breath she spoke, her voice musical but strange. "Hunt, Gray," she said slowly. The word came out broken, almost painful. Ethan's eyes widened. She spoke English, kind of. "You're hungry?" he asked. She nodded quickly, her glowing hair flickering brighter for a second like a pulse of light. Ethan sighed and placed the wrench on the table. "Okay, sit down. Let's get you something to eat." He pulled out a plate, still keeping a cautious eye on her. As she sat, he noticed something else. Her clothes were torn like a silver fabric that shimmered and cracked at the edges. There was also a strange mark on her arm, a circle with lines and symbols glowing faintly under her skin. It didn't look like a tattoo. He handed her a sandwich. The girl sniffed it first, then took a small bite. Her eyes widened in delight. For a brief second she looked normal, like any other kid. "What's your name?" Ethan asked softly. She looked confused again, then pointed at herself. "Ari." She said slowly, each syllable careful, as if she was still learning to speak. "Arya?" Ethan repeated. She nodded. He smiled slightly. "Okay, Arya, where are your parents? Where do you live?" Her eyes darkened. She looked down at the sandwich, then whispered, "Gone." Ethan's heart tightened. The word carried pain, even if her English was limited. He didn't push further. He stood up and poured her a glass of water. But when he turned back, he noticed something strange. The crumbs from the table were floating. In the air, tiny pieces of bread hanging mid-air like weightless dust. Arya looked frightened. She clenched her hands and the crumbs instantly dropped to the table. Ethan stepped back, eyes wide. "What was that?" he asked, stunned. "Did you do that?" Arya's eyes filled with tears. "No tell," she whispered, shaking her head quickly. "They find me. Who?" "Who will find you?" Ethan asked. But before she could answer, there was a loud thud from outside, like something heavy landing on the roof. Then another. Ethan looked up. Shadows moved past the window, fast and silent. Arya's glowing hair dimmed. She stood up, trembling. "They hear," she whispered. Ethan didn't understand, but the fear in her voice was real. He grabbed her hand instinctively. "Who's here?" he demanded. Outside, a deep humming sound began to rise. Not like any aircraft he'd ever heard. The wall shook slightly. Arya's eyes glowed bright silver now. "Hide," she said urgently. "Please." Ethan stared at her, his heart racing. He didn't know who or what she was, but one thing was certain. This was no ordinary night. Ethan didn't move at first. The whole apartment was silent except for the deep humming sound coming from above. It grew louder each second, a strange vibration that made the glass on his window shake. Arya's small hand gripped his arm tightly. Her eyes glowed like two silver moons. "They hear?" she whispered again, her voice trembling. Who's here? Ethan asked, trying to sound calm even though his heart was pounding. What are they? Before she could answer, the light bulbs flickered. The power went out. The apartment fell into darkness, except for the faint silver glow coming from Arya's skin. Ethan grabbed a flashlight from the shelf and pointed it toward the window. Outside, he could see 3 dark shapes floating above the street. They weren't helicopters. They didn't make rotor sounds. They were silent, smooth, and shaped like black discs, each with a ring of blue light underneath. He whispered, "That's not human tech." Arya looked up at him with fear and guilt. "They find me," she said. "I run, but they always find." "Are they your people?" he asked. She shook her head quickly. "No, they take me. I escape." Her voice cracked and her eyes filled with tears that shimmered faintly. Glowing in the dark, Ethan didn't understand all of it. But he knew one thing. She was terrified. He made a decision in that moment. "All right, come on. We're getting out of here." He pulled her toward the back door, grabbed his jacket, and stepped into the narrow hallway. The hum outside turned sharper, like energy cutting through the air. As they reached the stairs, a bright blue beam of light sliced through the apartment window behind them, melting the glass like wax. Arya gasped. Ethan didn't look back. He pulled her down the stairwell. "Move, move," he shouted. They ran through the back exit and into the alley. The night air hit their faces, cold and wet from a light drizzle. The strange ships hovered above the buildings now, scanning the ground with circles of blue light. Arya pointed down the street. "That way," she said. "How do you know?" Ethan asked. "I feel it," she whispered. "They track energy. Need hide from sky." Ethan didn't argue. They ran through the maze of alleys until they reached an old auto repair shop. The gate was half open, rusty. He helped her crawl inside. Once in, Ethan slammed the gate shut and crouched behind a pile of metal sheets. Both of them breathed heavily, their hearts racing. For a few seconds, everything was quiet again. Only the soft patter of rain on the roof. Ethan looked at her. "All right, Arya, you need to tell me what's going on. Who are they? Why are they after you?" She looked up, her silver eyes glowing softly in the dark. "They call themselves hunters. Not human, they take lost ones from stars. Make them work. I escape. Hide here." Ethan frowned. "You mean they kidnap beings like you?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, many from many worlds." Ethan rubbed his face, trying to process it. "You're telling me there are aliens flying over my city and no one knows?" Arya blinked. "Humans not see. Hunters hide ships in energy clouds," Ethan exhaled. "Great, invisible alien kidnappers. Just what Earth needed." Arya tilted her head, confused at his sarcasm. But then she smiled weakly. "You help me," she said softly. "Why?" Ethan looked at her, surprised. He wanted to say he didn't know, that he should have called the police or the military, but something about the fear in her voice and the childlike innocence and stopped him. "Because you're just a kid," he said finally, "and kids shouldn't be hunted." Her eyes shimmered again, not from fear this time, but gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. Just then a loud crack echoed from the ceiling. Ethan looked up. One of the ships was lowering above the building. Blue light spilled through the cracks in the roof. "They found us," he said. Arya's glowing hair flared like a burst of light. Hide us," she said quickly, closing her eyes. The air around them rippled. Ethan felt his skin tingle like static. Then the silence. A beam of blue light swept across the shop right over them, but didn't stop. The ship hovered for a moment, then drifted away. Ethan stared in disbelief. "What did you just do?" Arya opened her eyes slowly. "Bend light," she said, breathing hard. "Make us unseen. But can't hold long." Ethan blinked. He had no words. This small glowing girl had just made them invisible. Outside, the hum of the ships faded slowly into the distance. Arya's glow dimmed again, her energy drained. She leaned against him, exhausted. Ethan caught her before she fell. Hey, easy. You okay?" She nodded weakly. "Need rest. Please." Ethan looked toward the small office at the back of the shop. "Come on," he said softly, lifting her gently. "You can rest there. I'll figure out what to do." As he carried her inside, one thought echoed in his mind. Whoever those hunters were, they weren't done yet. And somehow, he knew. Helping this girl might have just made him their next target. The night dragged on, heavy and silent after the chase. Inside the old auto shop, the smell of oil and rust mixed with the faint electric scent left behind by the alien light. Ethan sat beside the small office door, flashlight off, ears open. Outside, he could still hear distant hums in the sky, but they were fading. Arya lay on a makeshift bed of rags and blankets he'd found. Her silver eyes were closed, her glowing hair dimmed to almost nothing. She looked fragile, too fragile for someone being hunted across galaxies. Ethan rubbed his face, his mind racing. He had so many questions, but right now only one mattered. What have I gotten myself into? He looked at her arm again. The glowing circle with strange symbols was pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. It wasn't a wound, more like a device inside her skin. Curiosity got the better of him. He leaned closer and whispered, "What are you?" Her eyes opened slightly. "Cold," she whispered, voice weak. Ethan took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. "Here, try to rest." For a while, silence filled the space again. Then Arya spoke softly, almost to herself. "They stop if I sleep too long?" Ethan frowned. "Who stops?" She turned her head slowly toward him. "Hunters. They track energy. My mark sends signal. I hide it but can't forever." Ethan's stomach dropped. "You mean they can still find you?" She nodded, her silver eyes dim. "Yes, unless... Remove it." He looked at the mark again. "Remove it? How? Is it safe?" Arya hesitated, her voice trembling. "Need special tool. Not human. Hidden in crash." "Crash?" Ethan echoed. She nodded. "My ship, not far. Fell in forest. Near river." Ethan sat back, trying to process it. There was a crashed alien ship somewhere outside the city. If what she said was true, it could be worth billions. But to her, it meant survival. He sighed. "All right, we'll go find it, but we wait until daylight." Arya's eyes widened in surprise. "You help me again?" He smiled weakly. "Yeah, I guess I don't learn from bad ideas." She smiled for the first time. Small, tired, but real. When morning came, gray light filtered through the dirty windows. Ethan peeked outside. The streets were quiet. The city was waking up like nothing strange had happened. Cars moved, people walked, and no one looked up at the sky. He found some old clothes in a storage box and handed a hoodie to Arya. "Put this on. You'll blend in better." She looked confused but did as told. The oversized hoodie made her look like a small street kid. Her glow faded completely, hidden beneath the fabric. "Better," he said. "Now lead the way." They slipped out through the back and started walking toward the forest on the edge of town. The air smelled of rain and earth. Ethan carried a small backpack, just water, tools, and food. Arya walked beside him quietly, her eyes scanning the sky every few minutes. After an hour, they reached the river. The water was dark, moving slowly between trees. Arya stopped suddenly. "Here," she said. Ethan followed her gaze and then saw it. Half buried under dirt and branches was a piece of something metallic. Not human metal. It shimmered faintly with blue lines, smooth and curved like liquid frozen in motion. They pushed aside branches. The shape grew bigger, like a small pod or escape capsule. Arya touched its surface. Her skin glowed brighter and symbols lit up on the metal. "It's still alive," she whispered. Ethan stepped closer, amazed. "Is that your ship?" "Part of it," she said. "Other parts, gone." She knelt down and placed her hand on a glowing panel. A soft hiss escaped as the pod opened slightly. Inside was a small silver cube, no bigger than Ethan's fist. "That's the tool?" he asked. Arya nodded. "It can stop signal, but must connect to mark." Ethan's brow furrowed. "That sounds risky." She looked at him calmly. "If I not do it, hunters find us. They kill." He didn't argue. He couldn't. "All right," he said. "Tell me what to do." Arya pressed a few symbols on the cube, and a soft blue light expanded from it, forming a circle on the ground. She sat in the center. Ethan watched nervously as the light reached her mark. It started glowing brighter and brighter until the whole room was filled with light. "Arya," he shouted. "You okay?" She didn't answer. Her body lifted slightly off the ground, her hair floating in the air like ribbons of light. Then with a loud crack, the mark on her arm exploded in a flash of blue sparks. Ethan shielded his eyes. When the light faded, Arya collapsed. He rushed to her side. "Arya, talk to me." She opened her eyes weakly and whispered, "It's gone. They can't find me now." Ethan let out a shaky laugh of relief. "Good, you scared me." But just as he spoke, the cube started flashing red. A low humming sound filled the forest. Arya's eyes widened. "No," she whispered. "It send last signal before stop." Ethan froze. "You mean they know we're here?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, hunters come. Soon." Ethan looked toward the sky. The clouds above were already glowing faintly blue. He stood up, pulling her to her feet. "Then we better move. Now." They ran into the forest, unaware that something much bigger than the hunters had already locked onto Arya's final signal. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan and Arya ran through the wet leaves, their footsteps muffled by the earth. Behind them, the small clearing where the pod had been was now glowing faintly, the cube still flashing red like a warning beacon. The air grew heavier with every second. A strange sound filled the sky, not the hum of the hunters' ships this time, but something deeper, stronger, almost like thunder rolling inside metal. Arya stopped suddenly, her eyes wide. "Not hunters," she whispered, breath shaking. "It's something else." Ethan looked up. Through the thick clouds, a golden light appeared, not blue like the hunters, but warm and bright, spreading across the sky like sunrise. The forest glowed in its reflection. "What the hell is that?" he said, shielding his eyes. Arya stepped forward slowly, whispering words in her own language. Soft, musical sounds that didn't belong to Earth. When she turned to him again, her expression had changed from fear to awe. "They found me," she said. "The Watchers, the who?" Ethan asked. "They are not hunters. They protect stars. They find what is lost." Ethan blinked. "So they're the good guys?" Arya hesitated. "Sometimes, but they don't trust humans." Before he could reply, the golden light grew brighter. A shape descended, and a massive ship, smooth and silent, made of glowing white metal. It was larger than any plane Ethan had ever seen, moving like it was floating through water. The trees around them bent from the force of its descent. Ethan grabbed Arya's hand. "We need to move." "Wait," she said softly. "They come for me." The ship landed slowly, sending ripples of energy through the ground. From its underside, a small platform lowered, carrying 3 tall figures. They were humanoid, their skin pale gold, their eyes glowing like sunlight through glass. Their suits shimmered like liquid armor. Ethan stood frozen. He had seen the impossible many times in one night, but this felt holy. One of the golden figures stepped forward and spoke in a calm, echoing voice. "Designation Arya 7, you have broken containment. Explain." Arya bowed her head. "I escaped hunters. They took others. I found safety with him." She pointed toward Ethan. The golden being turned its gaze on him, expression unreadable. "Human." The voice echoed inside Ethan's mind rather than his ears. "You sheltered a runaway from the outer colonies. Do you understand what you have done?" Ethan swallowed hard. "I didn't know. She needed help. I wasn't going to let them kill her." The being looked at Arya again. "This human interfered with galactic law. He cannot remain unmarked." Arya stepped forward quickly. "Please, he saved me. Without him, I'd be dead. He didn't break your law. He followed his heart." The leader paused. The others exchanged silent glances. Then the golden figure lifted its hand slightly. "Heart," it repeated as if testing the word. "You believe that excuses a breach of containment?" Arya's voice trembled. "No, but maybe it proves he is not like the others." For a long moment, no one spoke. The forest rustled quietly under the warm glow of the alien ship. Finally, the leader lowered its hand. "Very well. The human will not be erased, but he will be marked for observation." Ethan felt a chill crawl up his neck. "Wait, what does that mean?" Before he could move, a beam of golden light shot from the leader's palm, striking his chest. It didn't burn, but it felt heavy, like warmth sinking deep into his bones. A faint golden symbol appeared near his collarbone, glowing softly before fading. "What did you do to me?" he demanded. "You are linked now," the being said. "Her fate and yours are bound until judgment." Arya's eyes filled with tears. "No, don't hurt him." The leader looked at her gently. "We will not harm him, child, but you must return with us. Your presence here endangers this world." Arya shook her head. "The hunters will still come. They want me because of what I carry." Ethan looked at her sharply. "What you carry? What do you mean?" She turned to him, tears shining on her cheeks. "Inside me is a key. It can open gates between stars. The hunters need it, the Watchers guard it, and now Earth is caught between. Ethan's heart sank. Everything suddenly made sense. The chase, the signal, the warning. So that's why everyone's after you. Yes, she whispered. And now they will come for you too. The leader's voice broke the silence. We will take her. The gate must not fall. Arya reached out, grabbing Ethan's hand desperately. Don't let them take me, she pleaded. Please. I don't want to go. Ethan looked at her small hand trembling in his. He looked at the towering beings of light. Powerful, cold, unstoppable. Then he made his choice. He pulled her behind him. You'll have to go through me first. For a moment, no one moved. The golden figures stared at the human who dared to stand between them and a being from the stars. Then the leader's eyes dimmed. Not in anger, but in curiosity. So be it, human. Let your choice decide the fate of your world. The ground shook as the golden ship began to rise, its light pulsing brighter. Arya clung to Ethan as a storm of energy swirled around them. And somewhere high above, unseen in the clouds, the hunters were already returning. The golden ship rose into the clouds, its light fading into the gray morning sky. The forest grew silent again, as if the world itself was trying to remember how to breathe. Ethan stood there, his chest still warm where the alien light had touched him. Arya clung to his arm, trembling. They wanted to take you, he said quietly. Why didn't they just do it? Arya looked up at him with tired eyes. They fear what you are now, Ethan frowned. What I am? She nodded. The mark? It links you to me. The Watchers cannot harm one without hurting the other. They do not want that. Ethan placed a hand over his chest. The skin felt normal, but when he looked down, faint golden lines pulsed beneath it like veins of light. He took a shaky breath. So I'm connected to you now. Great. Just what I needed. Cosmic Wi-Fi. Arya didn't smile this time. Her gaze was distant. It is not joke, Ethan. The mark makes you part of the signal. If they track me again, they track you too. The words sank into him like ice. So now we're both targets. Before Arya could answer, a low rumble rolled through the sky. Not thunder this time, but something deeper, metallic. The trees began to sway. Birds burst from the canopy, fleeing. Arya's face went pale. Hunters, Ethan spun around. Already? She nodded, her silver eyes wide. They follow the energy trail. The Watcher's light helped them find us. A distant flash lit the sky, blue streaks slicing through the clouds. Then came the scream of engines that weren't from Earth. Ethan grabbed Arya's hand. Move! They ran through the forest, branches snapping underfoot. Behind them, something massive roared overhead. A blue beam cut through the trees, exploding the ground in a shower of dirt and light. Ethan stumbled, pulling Arya behind a fallen log just before another beam hit nearby. Can you make us invisible again? He asked, breathing hard. She shook her head. Too weak. Mark inside me. Damage from signal. Then we find another way, Ethan said. There's a cabin near the old quarry. We can hide there. They crawled through the underbrush, dodging the beams that scorched the ground around them. The noise grew louder, then suddenly stopped. Ethan risked a glance upward. One of the hunter ships had landed nearby. It was smaller than the others, dark blue and covered in sharp angles. A ramp unfolded and 3 figures stepped out. They weren't human. Their bodies were tall and thin, wrapped in black armor that shimmered like glass. Their faces were hidden behind masks, each with a single glowing red eye in the center. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the clearing. Target lifeform Arya 7 detected. Secondary signal human linked. Capture both. Arya gripped Ethan's arm. They will not stop. Ever. Ethan's eyes darted around. Then he spotted something. A half-collapsed mining tunnel near the quarry ridge. He pointed. There. They ran for it. The ground shook as the hunters fired again, blasting the earth behind them. The tunnel was dark and narrow, but it was shelter. They dove inside just as another explosion rocked the entrance, collapsing part of it. Dust filled the air. Ethan coughed, wiping his face. We're trapped. Arya touched the tunnel wall. Her fingers glowed faintly, tracing the rock. No, old path continues deeper. They followed the faint tunnel downward until the sounds of the outside world faded. The air grew cooler. A soft light came from Arya's skin, guiding the way. Ethan finally stopped to rest. His legs shook. Okay, we need a plan. Arya sat beside him, breathing slowly. You must learn to use your mark, he frowned. Use it? I don't even know what it is. She turned toward him. It is not only link. It is power of the gate. The Watchers gave it to you without knowing, when they marked you. You can touch energy like me? Ethan stared. You're saying I have alien powers now? She nodded. Small but real. Close your eyes. He hesitated, then obeyed. Feel the air, she whispered. Feel the energy moving through stone, through light, through me. At first he felt nothing. Just the sound of his heartbeat. Then something changed. A faint vibration, like a current running through his hands. When he opened his eyes, his palms were glowing faint gold. Ethan gasped. What the? Arya smiled faintly. You see? The mark responds. You are connected to the energy of the stars now. The golden light pulsed once, then faded, but in that moment, Ethan felt something, a sense of direction, like his mind was reaching out beyond the tunnel walls. He could sense movement above. The ships, the hunters, even the pulsing of their machines. I can feel them, he said quietly. They're searching. West of us, Arya nodded. Then we go east. As they started moving again, Ethan glanced at her. You said the key is inside you. What happens if they get it? Her voice turned small. If they open the gate, the stars will fall. Many worlds will burn. Ethan swallowed hard. Then we can't let that happen. Outside, unseen above the clouds, the Hunter's fleet gathered, and far beyond them, in the cold black of space, the Watchers were watching too. Neither side realized that the one thing they both feared was already waking inside a human heart. The tunnel stretched deep into the earth, twisting like a buried serpent. Ethan led the way now, his flashlight in one hand and faint gold light still flickering in the other. Every time he raised his palm, the walls shimmered, responding to the strange mark glowing beneath his skin. Arya followed behind, her breathing quiet, her silver eyes glowing faintly. She looked weaker now. The energy she had used to hide them and remove her signal had drained her body. You need rest, Ethan said softly. She shook her head. No time, they still search. I feel them above. Ethan stopped and leaned against the rock wall. We can't keep running forever, Arya. There has to be a way to stop them. She looked down, hesitating. There is a way, but dangerous. He looked at her carefully. How dangerous? Her voice was barely a whisper. If we open the gate, Ethan frowned. That gate again? You keep mentioning it. What is it really? Arya turned toward him, her face serious. The gate is a path between worlds. The Watchers built it long ago to travel the stars, but the Hunters want to control it, to take power from every world they touch. The key to open it is inside me. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. And if they get that key? She met his eyes. They can end entire worlds in seconds. He went silent. The idea was too big, too unreal, but the fear in her eyes made it real enough. So this gate, can we destroy it? He asked. Arya shook her head. No, it is everywhere. It connects everything. We can only hide the key, boys, or seal it again. Before Ethan could speak, the tunnel trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A faint vibration ran through the ground like footsteps. They found us, Arya whispered. Ethan grabbed her hand. Come on. They ran through the dark passages until the tunnel opened into a wide underground cavern. Water dripped from above, glowing faint blue where it touched the stones. In the middle of the cavern stood a strange metallic structure half buried in rock, curved, ancient, and pulsing faintly with gold light. Arya gasped. A fragment of the gate. Ethan stared. The structure looked alive, humming softly like it had been waiting for centuries. You mean the gate reaches here? She nodded. Yes, it connects all places. The Watchers must have built this one long ago. Ethan stepped closer. The closer he got, the brighter the mark on his chest became. He felt something, a pull, like the gate was recognizing him. Arya looked at him in awe. It senses your mark. You are linked to its energy now. Before he could reply, the cavern lit up with a flash of blue light. 3 hunter soldiers appeared on a cliff above them, their weapons glowing. Target acquired, a mechanical voice announced. Ethan instinctively threw himself in front of Arya. A blast of blue energy hit his chest, but instead of burning him, it scattered in a burst of golden light. Arya's eyes widened. You shielded it. Ethan looked down. His hands were glowing gold, the same light as the gate. He could feel the energy moving through him, not burning but flowing like liquid fire. He raised his hand again. and the golden light shot outward, striking one of the hunters and sending it crashing into the rocks. The other two fired back, but their blasts vanished before reaching him, swallowed by the golden energy swirling around his body. "What's happening to me?" Ethan shouted over the noise. Arya smiled faintly despite the chaos. "You are becoming part of the gate." The ground shook again. The gate fragment began to hum louder, as if waking from a long sleep. Its light spread across the cavern walls, forming symbols in the air. The remaining hunters stepped back, their scanners flashing red. "Warning. Gate activation detected. Retreat!" They vanished in streaks of blue light. Ethan lowered his hand, breathing hard. The golden glow around him slowly faded. "I didn't mean to." Arya touched his arm gently. "You saved us." "The gate chose you, Ethan." He stared at her. "I'm human." "Why would it choose me?" She looked at him thoughtfully. "Because humans are different. You act from heart, not logic. The gate responds to choice, or not power." Ethan's pulse slowed, his mind racing. "So this mark, it's not just a link. It's a key too," Arya nodded. "Yes, together we are the lock and key. Only both of us can open or close the gate forever." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we need to end this. No more running." Before Arya could reply, a sudden burst of golden light filled the cavern again. But this time it wasn't from the gate. It came from above, from a narrow hole in the ceiling. A familiar voice echoed in his mind. "Human Ethan Cole, you have awakened what should never be touched." Ethan looked up. Floating above the cavern entrance were the Watchers, their golden ship hovering silently, its light blinding. The leader's voice thundered again. "Step away from the gate. You are not meant to wield its power." Arya stepped in front of Ethan, her voice shaking. "He saved me. He saved your creation." But the Watcher only raised its glowing hand. "And now he threatens all of it." The golden light in the cavern flared, surrounding them. Ethan's mark began to burn. Not in pain, but in warning. He realized something terrible. The Watchers didn't come to save them. They came to erase them both. The cavern blazed with golden light. Ethan shielded his eyes as the Watcher's ship hovered above the hole in the ceiling, its radiance pouring down like a second sun. The sound was deep and ancient, the kind of sound that didn't just shake the air but the soul. Arya stood beside him, her small hand clutching his arm tightly. The symbols on her skin glowed brighter than ever, pulsing in rhythm with the gate behind them. The voice of the Watcher thundered again, calm but cold. "Human, you have touched forbidden power. Step away from the gate." Ethan stared up, jaw tight. "If I do that, the hunters will find it." "You know they will." The Watcher's golden eyes narrowed. "The hunters are not the true danger anymore." "You are." Arya stepped forward, shaking her head. "No, he saved me." "The gate answered him because he has heart, not greed." The leader raised its hand and the light grew sharper. "The gate listens to emotion. That is why it must never fall into human hands." Ethan took a step forward. "You think you can just control everything? You built the gate, but you forgot one thing. You can't control life. You can't control choice." The cavern shook as his voice echoed off the stone. For a moment, even the light of the Watchers flickered. Arya turned to him, her silver eyes wide. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He looked at her softly. "I'm ending this. No one should hold this much power. Not the hunters, not the Watchers, not even us." The Watcher's voice turned sharp. "You cannot destroy what connects the stars." Ethan raised his glowing hand. The golden mark on his chest pulsed brighter, connecting to the gate's energy. "Maybe not destroy, but I can close it," Arya gasped. "If you close it, you'll be trapped. Forever." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, I figured." The Watchers descended, their bodies shifting like living light. "We will stop you." But the gate reacted first. Its golden surface began to swirl like water, forming a vortex of pure energy. The cavern roared as wind and dust rose around them. Arya cried out as the power lifted her from the ground. Ethan reached for her, grabbing her hand tightly. "Ethan!" she shouted. "You can't do this." "Yes, I can," he said. "Because I'm human. And humans don't run. Not when someone needs saving." He turned toward the gate. The light wrapped around him, merging with his mark. His body began to glow brighter than gold, brighter than fire. The Watchers stopped in midair, frozen, their energy bending toward him instead of away. "Impossible," one of them whispered. The gate accepts him. Arya tried to pull him back. You'll vanish. You'll become part of it. He smiled, his voice calm. Then maybe that's what it needs, then a little piece of humanity to balance all that power. The gate flared. The light exploded outward, filling the cavern with waves of gold and blue. The hunters above the surface tried to flee, but their ships disintegrated in silence. The Watcher's ship cracked, its perfect form melting into streaks of light that vanished into the stars. Arya screamed his name as the energy consumed him. Ethan! But he only whispered, Protect them, Arya. Live. And then, he was gone. The gate went silent. The light faded. The air grew still again. Arya fell to her knees, tears glowing as they touched the ground. The cavern was empty now, except for faint golden dust drifting where Ethan had stood. She reached out, her voice trembling. Goodbye, my human. 1 year later, the city had no memory of the night the skies glowed. Life went on, but sometimes during quiet evenings, people reported seeing strange lights above the forest, like golden fireflies dancing in patterns that no one could explain. Arya now lived among humans, hidden in plain sight. Her glowing hair was gone, her eyes dimmed, but she still carried something within her, a spark that wasn't just alien, but also human. Every night she stood by the river where her pod had crashed. The water shimmered faintly, reflecting starlight that wasn't supposed to be there. One night, as she watched the sky, her mark, the faint circle on her arm, glowed softly. And from the sky a whisper came, carried on the wind. Still watching, kid. Arya smiled through her tears. The voice was gone in an instant, but it left warmth behind. The same warmth she had felt when Ethan held her hand for the last time. She looked up at the stars, whispering. He kept the gate closed. But his light still crosses it. The night shimmered again, and for a brief moment, a golden figure appeared among the stars, standing tall, surrounded by light, watching over the worlds he had saved. Ethan Cole, the human who chose the stars.